For us in the Midwest, we worked very closely with the Peregrine Fund, and we attempted some releases on the Mississippi River in '76 and '77, both in Wisconsin and Minnesota.
Nature Conservancy had purchased a piece of land along the Mississippi River south of Kellogg, the Weaver Dunes area. All these resources pulled together and involved the Conservancy, the Bell Museum, us here at the Raptor Center, the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service, Minnesota DNR. We had our ingredients together to release falcons.
Unfortunately, there were not hundreds of peregrines being produced at the time. There were just a handful. So the loss of 2 or 3 out of a handful was a pretty significant loss. And there were many causes for losses. It could be just accidents. It was great horned owl predation.
We were trying to reinsert peregrine falcons into an area from which they had been gone for 20 years. And in the meantime, everybody else in that neighborhood had readjusted to the fact that peregrines weren't there. We needed a place where we could release birds where they weren't going to be subject to predation by owls, that was easily accessible. All of this discussion led ultimately to a suggestion, in fact, by a gentleman in town here by the name of Walter Pratt, who was a stockbroker, but he loved peregrine falcons. And he said, well, why would you ever think about releasing them off buildings in town?
So Dr. Tordoff and Dr. Pat Redig were really our forefathers for the program in the Midwest. They figured it out. We have these tall buildings. We have plenty of food. To a peregrine, it basically looks like a tall cliff. There's pigeons available. There's other songbirds and waterfowl available. Maybe this will be our key.
Over a period of discussions, we decided let's give this a try. And so it came to be that we started releasing birds from the multi-foods in, I believe, 1985. One of the birds that was released at that site was actually produced by a falconer here in the Twin Cities, up in Hugo, Bob Andresen. And the cost of producing that bird was paid for by the Minnesota Falconers Association, so it came to be called MF1. MF1 actually came back 2 years later and took that site over as a nesting site. She nested there for 8 years. Other falcons from that site went over to downtown St. Paul and nested on what's now the Bremer building. We had other birds flew down to Chicago and nested down there. These birds had a high degree of success, and they gravitated towards other tall buildings in other areas, even quite some distances away. And so this really opened up a whole new approach, a whole new concept to how we can go about releasing peregrine falcons.